Hey everybody, this is Greenwood again with another tutorial video, and in today's video I will walk you through what we did in Algebra 1 on Monday, September 20th, in case you missed class. So this is kind of going to be a two-day lesson. I'll give you a highlight of what these 2 days will look like for Monday, September 20th, and Tuesday, September 21st. So I'm going to go through a materials procedure about how to get your textbook. We're going to talk about independent and dependent variables, and then finishing up the lesson, probably day 2, we'll have you write your own scenario, and all you need is a pencil and your textbook. Okay, so here's the standards we went through. You can pause and take a look at those. The materials procedure, so you can see I took a picture of what the textbooks look like on the shelf in my room, and you can see they're numbered with stickers cascading down. So you have a classroom number, that's your number for the whole year, and your book. So you'll go get your book, and then the last couple minutes of class, I'll have you return your book. These are the 3 standards we're going to focus on for this week: making sense of problems and persevere at solving them, constructing viable arguments, critiquing others' reasoning, and looking for and expressing regularity and repeated reasoning. And the really big goal I want to have for you today is understanding the difference between dependent and independent variables, and then being able to draw some graphs for that. So we're starting on page 8 in the book, and we went through and identified these quantities. So we kind of did it in 2 parts. So part 1 was, can you identify the quantities? Those are the things that you can measure or count, and then decide which one depends upon the other. So in the first example, we talked about the number of movie tickets purchased and the total cost. So number of movie tickets is one quantity, and total cost is another quantity. Looks like I need to have a marker here for you all. There we go. So the number of movie tickets and the total cost. Those are my 2 quantities. And I need to know which one depends on the other, or which one is independent. So the independent one is going to be the number of tickets that I purchase, because I'm controlling how many tickets I purchase. And the total cost is dependent, because it depends on the number of tickets that I purchased. So that's kind of the way I think about it. And so your task was to go through and finish these and annotate, circling the independent quantity and underlining the dependent quantity. So that was step 1 we did today. The next thing we did was we moved on to the next page, which I got to look at the bottom here, I believe is page 9. And we talked about that graphs are a way to enable people to see data visually. And we've talked a lot about this in class so far. And so now we can talk about how we're going to create our own graphs. So sometimes we can get straight lines, we get smooth curves, they can go up or down. We talked about that. It's all about how does that curve or line make sense to the relationship we're reading about. So the first day we went through and talked about the first scenario or 2, where Grayson's completing a dive from a cliff 75 feet above the water. And so I need to move my video picture here. There we go. So we drew an XY axis, and we just worked in the first quadrant. So our XY axis looked kind of like this. And we decided that from the dive, so Grayson's starting 75 feet above a river, and it takes him 1.5 seconds to hit the water, and then another 0.5 to descend into the water. So the seconds was what we call the independent variable, because that was the time from the time he jumped. And we felt like that the height above the river, I said underline that, not circle, the height above the river would be the dependent variable. Okay, so I'm going to say that the height is my dependent quantity. I'll just use colors to annotate to save us some time. My independent was the time that we spent, so time in seconds. Okay, and then we talked about how would we draw a line graph that might represent this. So we talked about cliff diving. If you've ever done that, which is not me, I'm not a daredevil like this guy. We think about like the dangers. If we jump too close to the cliff, we might hit a rock. We want to be able to jump to find a deep spot in the water, so we want to jump out. So I'll go this way. So we want to jump out from the cliff into the water. And so we said the path of the graph might look something like this, where he's jumping out and then falling down to the water. And then we said this x-axis, whereas our independent variable always goes, would represent 0 height above the water. And so when he gets to the water, he splashes in, probably feet first, and he's going to slow down. So he's increasing, he's going really, really, really fast to the water. Gravity's pulling him down, and then he gets to the water, and then maybe he slows up into the water. And so this is another half second to descend 10 feet into the river. Okay, so that was day 1. Once we got into day 2, what we did is we worked on another scenario here about something's fishy, and then we started looking at the other scenarios in this first activity and drawing some graphs. And then we went through and looked at the different graphs that were provided for us and talked about how our graphs matched those. From there, we went ahead and did activity 2, where we analyzed graphs. And then finally, to wrap this lesson up, I had you write a scenario of your choosing with an independent and dependent variable. One example is to describe a possible trip to school. So you can use that context, or if you have another context you like better, you can use that. So you write down the scenario that's happening, and then you sketch a graph. And then describe what's happening, why it's a straight line, why it's a smooth curve. And then if we have time, we'll look at others' scenarios. And so that wraps up this first lesson 1 in Algebra 1, Module 1, Topic 1. Hope this one helped you in case you missed class, so go through this. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.